Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to 20th Century Geek Bite Size. As usual, Julian and I will be taking a concept or a pitch or an idea and discussing it for just half an hour, trying to limit ourselves on our sort of rambling conversations that we have. First and foremost, Julian, how are you doing? You okay?
I'm doing awesome. How are you?
I'm not too bad. I'm not too bad. I think today's topic is going to be difficult to keep to the 30 minutes, but we're definitely going to try. Today's topic, as we all know, Disney now own everything that is Fox Studios, and they have done some stuff. Obviously, they've bought a load of stuff. What should they be doing with it? And that's what we're going to be tackling today. What should Disney be doing with all the stuff they've got in the vault for Fox Studios? So I'll throw it over to you, Julian. What are your thoughts? What do you think Disney should be doing with all of this, many films and many franchises?
Well, rather pathetically, I've thought about this a lot over the years, and I think that I didn't grow up with the love for these Fox franchises like Alien and Predator and stuff like that as much as I did other franchises, but I want to see them successful. And I think it's cool that they're doing different things than some of these other franchises. So I do feel invested in them. I like when there's a new Alien movie. But I think, first of all, we should say a little bit of history that these franchises have, despite multiple Predator and Alien movies, have not performed great at the box office. There's been a kind of fail. They've done okay, but never like all those Predator, reboots or soft reboots never get a sequel, right? Like we're never going to go back to that Predator planet, So there's a kind of like failure there, while not a catastrophic failure, still a failure to launch. And then, secondly, we should say there are these rumors. I think one Alien TV series has been confirmed. There's rumors that really it's going to be like 3, and I applaud that. We don't know any details yet, so as we're recording this. My idea, I go big or go home. My idea is basically that, they try to unite the Alien and Predator franchises in Alien versus Predator. That is now incompatible with the Alien prequels, begun with Prometheus and continued in Covenant. And also the AVP movies are not good. So, we're going to get rid of those. But I want to see a Fox science fiction universe. And the idea is Fox has a lot of classic films, not just Alien and Predator, but a lot of classic movies and franchises. And you can now combine these with a few Disney ones. And the idea is to create a sort of like holistic, everything in the kitchen sink, everything that's remotely compatible. And I think that, it's fun, like you see the Wayland Corporation from Alien, like people have tried to like connect that to Blade Runner, and sort of establish these connections. So basically the way the chronology would work is that the beginning of the franchise is basically dominated by X-Files. So X-Files is in there, you own it, and the X-Files becomes the vehicle. I mean, it's very episodic. You can then say, okay, The Shape of Water happened in that universe. Tron happened in that universe. The Fly happened in that universe. Predator happened in that universe. The Abyss happened in that universe. And then Predator 2, all of these other ones. And you could, continue the X-Files. All those X-Files spin-offs happened in that universe. You need some sort of like additional material, animated or not, to kind of like connect some dots. But basically all of this, I mean, you can have Scully and Mulder in an animated episode investigate the Fly, right? Like, and the Bartok Science Industries, and connect Bartok Science Industries to Wayland from Prometheus. And then you get the Alien movies, the Alien prequels, the main Alien films, and then I had the idea that, that becomes the dominant future vision. Fortunately, that doesn't have a lot of stuff that takes place on Earth. So it's pretty open as far as what you're doing. And I even had the idea that it takes place later. Firefly can be in this universe. So the far future is Firefly. And that's all part of the same universe. Now we can throw stuff in. and make this kind of, you know, sci-fi universe. It's not superheroes, but it is all-encompassing, and you can have, you know, The Fly with Firefly if you want.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my idea.
I love that, and I was thinking about as you said it, I was thinking about the Star Wars universe, and how they've got to a point now where you've got eras. You know, you've got sort of like the Old Republic or the High Republic, whatever you want to call it, and then you've got through to you know, the sort of the prequel era, where that was called. And you've now got a timeline, and whether you want to do the films or, you know, whether they base it on the Battle of Yavin and it goes from there, but you can say like, oh yeah, this happened like 7,000 years ago, and this happened 10 years ago, and here's the timeline. I'm loving what you're saying. Is actually we're going to have a sci-fi universe that's going to have a proper fixed timeline. Like, yeah, the X-Files all happened, and if anything, because you're now introducing a wider sci-fi universe, we can tidy up that real clusterfuck of an end.
Mm-hmm.
So brilliant. That makes that a lot more sensible. But you say Predator happened in this sci-fi universe. Forget the others because they all don't make a great deal of sense. You could probably keep Predators. Because
I would keep all of them. I would keep all the Predator movies. Shove them all in. You know, have Mully and Scully. You know, investigate what happened.
1997
in
Los Angeles it was a very different time. You could do, I suppose. But yeah, and I like the fact that you say that these things, you know, you've got a future where in the 80s there was an incident where Brundlefly was created, because I love that that's a small story, like not many people involved, and you know the industry, the company that sort of instigated that is a subsidiary, or it becomes a subsidiary of Weyland-Yutani, and you know it's linked through to that, so you can have the pods be used, and it all builds up to a future where these things have happened. I love that idea. I think that would be great. And again, like the opportunity to do multimedia. If you had a story group that did this, that kept all this in line, as they do with the Star Wars universe, like, you know, you go, yeah, we're gonna have you know, I know IDW do IDW or Dark Horse do the X-Files comics, but no, we're now going to have a Marvel comic X-Files comic series, and because we own this, we're going to have whatever Gina Davis's character was in The Fly, she's going to appear in this when they talk about these other. They're going to hunt her down to talk about this other thing, and yeah, okay, you could do all kinds of things with that.
Well, I'm glad you like it, because, you know, it's bizarre, but I think that it enhances all of those properties in a way it makes it all more interesting. And you have a ready-made universe where you can set those series, you know, new series, do new properties, you know. I mean, there's a lot of technology out there, you know, and you can kind of connect it all and connect the dots, and like you said, have different eras.
No, I think that'd be really cool. And like I say, if you had that, because you do include things like, say, Firefly, and yeah, Firefly happens after what you've seen with Ripley and Aliens and that sort of thing. Forget Prometheus, or you say throwing everything in.
I throw everything in that I can, right? I like having to explain continuity problems. You know, that's part of the job. True. I mean, Prometheus has its problems, but I mean, I like Covenant, you know. I mean, this is an ambitious trilogy that I want finished. I want, you know, to actually see it finished. But yeah, I mean, you know, Firefly is like 2,500 or something, you know. It's a few centuries after Alien, so anything can happen. And hey, we got a lot of great properties all in this timeline, you know.
Yeah.
So,
and you could definitely build up to those things. So, I sort of went a bit more corporate. Let's put it that way. So I looked and thought, okay, they've got all the different properties, all the things. I'm going to have a look at them from 3 different buckets, and they're going to be or 4 actually. There's sort of 4 different buckets, because there's always the do nothing approach. So your first one is do nothing. This is a do not touch. You know, it sits on its own. We'll probably release it. It'll be on Disney Plus Star or whatever. You know, it'll be an IP that we'll just release in some sort of media. Leave it alone. Then you've got sort of what I was saying was my bucket A, which I would say was calling my clean slate reboot. So here's a bunch of things that I think, okay, we can give these a clean slate reboot. We've got things we now own that we can do all kinds of things with. One of the ones I sort of threw in was The Omen, because although I love the first one, the second and third one don't make a whole heap of sense. And the ending of the third one's a massive disappointment. And so I was like, all right, let's do that. We're now in an era where you could do a period piece Omen set in the late 70s, and then you're building up to a 2020, 2025 Omen 3 where you do have someone coming up through politics and other thing. I think it'd be quite relevant. So okay, there you go. There's your clean reboot. Other ones I did think about, sort of like, the things like Planet of the Apes. I was like, okay, you finished that one. Maybe not straight away, but that's really worked as another reboot. Do we have other stories to tell in that? What could we do with that? Another clean reboot, maybe. Do something different. Then I had my second one, well, my third book, I suppose, which is my sequel IP. So where am I going to go with sequels? And in that one, I had Kingsman and a couple of films like that. Really, I haven't really got the list, but yeah, those were films I was like, this is doing all right. I'm just going to carry on letting these be made. Like, you've got The Kingsman that's been made and supposed to come out at some point. That's a nice little quiet universe that's going to, it's doing its thing. It's good fun. Maybe make it a little bit. Let's say, hope the third one's good, because I love the first one. I enjoy the second one. I'm hoping that the third one is a prequel, so let's see if it's any good. But yeah, there's something there. We can do the Kingsman universe. It can become like James Bond or something like that. You've got this little thing I can play around with. Leave that alone. And there's other like sequel things. Then I had, similar to what you were saying, it becomes my multimedia IP. So, and I think Kingsman sort of falls into this bucket. But like, okay, what am I going to do where it's going to be, right, well, this is the stuff I can do. TV series, I can do more films, I can do comics, I can do books. Where's that bucket? And again, that's where sort of Alien and Predator sort of tickle my brain in that, because I know that Marvel are going to do an Alien comic series as well in March. So I was thinking again, Alien, Predator, Planet of the Apes, Avatar. You've got all these IPs. I'm like, that's my sort of expanded stuff. Do all kinds of different pieces with those. Let's see what we can, get out of it. And then I started thinking, similar to you, about the universe. And yours is all encompassing, and I love that. Mine's less so, but has hopefully room for growth. So I started to think about, there's never been an action shared universe. So I was like, okay, so what do they own? So they've got like Die Hard, Commando, Transporter. So I was like, okay, you got aging people there that are coming up. So, less said about Die Hard 5, the better. But like Arnie's just, he's aging out. But like, I want a world where John McClane and John Matrix exist. And so, so I wanted to do that, and I wanted sort of like to have it be where John McClane and John Matrix, you'd have Bruce Willis and Arnold Schwarzenegger on screen together. Almost become like, not so much like the Nick Fury, but that sort of thing. They instigate it, and then you could bring. I would like to bring back, and I love the Transporter. The Transporter films are ridiculous, but they're so much fun. Not much Refuel. That was a bit garbage, but bring back Jason Statham as another one, and then I would build on that. And like, you don't even have to acknowledge it. You just go, okay, we're going to have this action. I've got a buddy cop film. I've got a gritty cop film, and I've got this film. And you just lay the little eggs that say, these all exist in the same universe. And you can lay the thing again of them sort of like, a bit like, we've sort of said this with other comic things where, that you lay the seeds of, there's a bigger conspiracy, and all of a sudden these cops from all across, all these actions, they don't have to be cops, they can just be, as always, they're sort of a well-trained person, like, they know martial arts or whatever. So you start off these smaller action films, and they culminate into the biggest action film, that doesn't involve super heroics and intergalactic warfare, ever, and just have a badass sort of like almost like the A-Team, but like not the A-Team of action films. Is what I want to build up to with this stuff now. They've got the opportunity to do it.
Yeah, sort of like the Expendables, but with the characters from these classic movies in the same movie together. I love this idea. It's like if I had the Fox sci-fi universe, you've got the Fox action universe, and it never occurred to me. Like I love that idea.
And this was it, because because Kingsman's too crazy to include in it. I was like, and I kind of like that being on its own. Mm-hmm. But I was like, if I could have Arnold Schwarzenegger as John Matrix, just in the first film, kicking it all off, or even being like, being the connective tissue, and having like an aging Bruce Willis, sort of like a retired cop pulled back in, like I do Die Hard 6, and I'd use that. I would almost maybe even have Bruce Willis killed off in a sequel. Not Bruce Willis, sorry, John McClane. I'm not going to kill off Bruce Willis.
That is some ambitious plans for Fox.
yeah. Real problems with Bruce. But like, I would like to see them kill off a main. Like, could you imagine a film where John McClane hands the torch to someone else and dies on screen? Like that's, if done right and not just done for shock and tear jerking, like, would be really like, wow, yeah, they've taken this character and we've literally seen John McClane die on screen. I think would be really interesting. But it's a foundation I'd like to see them build on, because we don't get the action films like we used to. And I'm not looking to get like Chuck Norris, Invasion USA, crap. I want like solid new action stars coming through and use this as the foundation and have an action shared universe.
I love that idea, man. It's very smart.
I just think, because the thing is as well, blockbusters are on the wane at the moment. You want slightly smaller budgets. I'm not asking for $100 million. I'm asking sort of like, you could probably do a lot of these action films with a lot less.
Oh yeah.
And especially if you kept them slightly different as well. If you had like a martial arts focused. Again, I'm not trying to force a diversity, but like you could really, if you had, I hate the phrase chop socky, that's what they were called, but like you have that sort of like Asian infusion sort of action film, with a really solid martial arts star of something from Asia, and then you've got like a proper full-blooded American type action star as well, and then you get some other bits and pieces through. You really map out. You could end up with like this continent hopping action film where all these guys like, all right, look, we're not going to be all doing the same. It's not going to be they're all lined up to face a bunch of baddies. Like they all have separate skills that they can then use for the culmination of this final thing. That's what I want to see.
Well, one of the reasons why I love these sort of shared universes, I don't love them because of like the experience with Marvel or how it's kind of like failed at DC and been constraining. But one of the reasons why I love it is that you can take these classic movies, and classic stories that really more people should watch, that just are rightly have a place in the pantheon of sci-fi or action or whatever it is, and say, hey, that's part of a larger tapestry. And off screen we were talking about Judge Dredd and how much we love just continuing narratives, that there's a bulk of material set in this universe. And I think that seeing that universe evolve, having saying to somebody like, hey, it's an action series, we've grandfathered in like 15 action movies, and like this is a big universe. Not all of them are going to be great. Some of them are classics that no Marvel or DC movie can compare to some of these genre defining classics from the 70s and 80s. I mean, how awesome is it to have that star in your universe. So, I mean, for me, I love this idea not to be bogged down by continuity, but just to be able to, see these universes evolve and say, like, yeah, technically it's all tied together. It just makes it a lot more interesting for me.
Yeah, I'm just having a quick look to remind myself, but like Romancing the Stone, so
Mm.
Romancing the Stone and Jewel of the Nile, they're both 20th Century Fox. So,
Yeah.
Gene Wilder and that character. So you can introduce Michael Douglas. These aging action stars handing things over to people. It'd just be really fascinating. I mean, look at 20th Century Fox. Also owns Independence Day, the Day the Earth is Still, The Martian.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it owns Zardoz.
I know. I saw that so I excluded like The Day the Earth Stood Still, one of my favorite movies. But because it doesn't fit with the rest of the other stuff. But same thing with some of the other stuff you mentioned just doesn't fit. But it occurred to me, like, in terms of my thing, like the sci-fi thing, you can put Indiana Jones in there. Now that would piss off some people, but really that is not incompatible with the X-Files, And by the time you get to like the alien years, it's like, yeah, we've kind of forgotten all those supernatural things that are technically part of the same universe. We're just not going to see them because we're out in space by now.
Yes.
But I mean, imagine if, it's amazing how much Fox owns, and we're talking about, just amazing stuff from the library of science fiction and action that is getting no traction right now. Nobody is watching it. Nobody's talking about it. It's not even getting played on cable channels. Disney has started cracking down on movie theaters playing these as sort of like rerun showings because they're sort of blocking them in the Disney fold. But that's one way of just like removing access to them to generate false scarcity and false interest. What if instead you reinfuse them with franchise potential and linked them up and said, yeah, those are all chapters in the action universe or the sci-fi universe?
And I love that idea, especially with your idea of the sci-fi universe, the evolving sci-fi universe. That say, why not have Indiana Jones in that? The supernatural that fits in with the X-Files perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
They had the supernatural as well as the sort of the science fiction, so you could have that transition, like you say, and the X-Files almost acts as that transition where you have the supernatural and the sci-fi weaved in, and then comes out the other end, and then in 100 years' time or whatever the distant future is, we're going to focus on aliens and Predator, and there's nothing in those films that contradicts the continuity of them having happened. In fact, actually, when you think about it, Indiana Jones, especially the end of Raiders, where you see the warehouse with all the stuff in, and they have the Ark of the Covenant in there. That's like X-Files bread and butter. That stuff.
Absolutely. And Weyland-Yutani can get a hold of it at some point.
Weyland, exactly.
Some
Weyland
government
Yutani
official could say, "I know the warehouse. There's this Ark of the Covenant or this weird sci-fi device from aliens that was found in there. Let's give it to you to reverse engineer."
Those fifth dimension jumping aliens at the end of Crystal Skull, again, like that sort of like, Mulder's was like numbing that up. That's all kinds of fantastic for him, despite the film being crap. But I love that idea. That's getting my vote. That is this full on. I want to see that. Someone out there on the internet do this. Take all those sort of sci-fi and elements we've just talked about and produce for me a timeline. So I want to see it start with.
Oh, I've got it in Microsoft Word. That's what I do. I do.
That is going up somewhere. We're putting that out there because I think that's amazing. I'm so like, we see that start with Indiana Jones. It starts at the start of will it start with the 20th century? I'm not sure if you can go back any further in the film catalogue.
Yeah, I don't have anything before Indiana Jones and Shape of Water is in the 60s.
So there we go. We've got something that goes through from the sort of like the 30s through to the 50s, and you've got the 60s. So you've got all the 20th century covered, and then off into the future. I I'm going to encourage Julian to turn that into something, and I'm going to put that somewhere for everybody to see, and then I'm going to send it to Bob Iger, and and we're gonna make that happen.
Well, if they just had the smarts to put me in charge of the sci-fi universe and you in charge of the action universe, and we'll consult back and forth,
Yeah,
and we'll have some power lunches.
That's it. I'm happy to be sitting having, like I say, power lunches and meetings with Jon Favreau and Kathleen Kennedy and Kevin Feige, talking about the shared universes that we're all going to create. That's what we're going to do. This is it. This is the stepping stone. Take us on that journey. Okay. Brilliant.
It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was a good one. See, that's it. We've just saved Disney. Well, saved it, as we say.
We saved Fox. Disney's doing great.
Yeah. But one thing I should say is, I think we've highlighted, just the last piece before we go, is the fact that you hit the nail on the head. Disney now own an absolute wealth of classic movies in their vault, and some of those just do not get the play that they deserve. Some of the films, I was just looking on those films, haven't even got like a Blu-ray release. Mm-hmm. And I just said about Romancing the Stone and Jewel of the Nile. No, they're on DVD. You can go, but no Blu-ray release. I love that Romancing the Stone. Such a good film.
A classic.
Yeah. So there's so many, one of the things I found the other day, and I think Disney must own it through their thing. Young Sherlock Holmes doesn't have a Blu-ray release in this country, in Britain. That's tragic. That film is amazing. So they are sat on a gold mine, and they are not utilizing it, in my opinion. But yeah, okay, so there it is. I think that was if we were going to say winners and losers on that one, you won that one. That was awesome.
I don't know.
That's getting a big tick from me. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, what do you think Disney should be doing with the Fox Studios back catalogue for the future? Should they be doing more shared universes? Do you want more shared universes? Or do you think they should just bin it all and just carry on doing what they're doing? How about you let us know? Down in the comments, let us know what you think Disney, or what they're going to call it now. Is it going to be called Fox Studios, or whatever it's going to be called, should be doing with their back catalogue and all the IP franchise options that they have?
And hit subscribe.
Yeah, I'm terrible at this.
Share with your friends.
That's it. Share this, subscribe, and do all the things that you're supposed to do with the YouTube channel, because I am terrible at that bit. But we will be putting this out on social media. But thank you very much, anyway, for watching. And Julian, thank you very much for frustrating me by us not having that shared sci-fi universe in my life.
Well, my pleasure, Scott. And I was nervous doing all of these pitches because every time we talk about movies on Stories Out of Time and Space, I always have like vague ideas for how to improve it, and you're like, you know what? And then you just blow me out, and I'm like, oh, that's so smart. Like, he's thought about this. That's such a clever fix. So, I had to think for these.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That was a little bonus episode we've been throwing out there for, not just for shits and giggles, but we wanted to try this thing. We did it for YouTube, and now we're sort of throwing it out as a podcast. Please come and let us know what you think. Do you think you would like to hear us talk about more topics like this? Me and Julian, not just doing your usual stuff, but actually sort of taking on some wider topics maybe. Let us know. Come onto the social medias. If you've listened to this on 20th Century Geek, come and find us at 20th Century Geek on Twitter and everything else. If you've listened to this on Stories Out of Time and Space, please come and find us on at Pod Time Space. Or, better still, come visit the website, www.20thcenturygeek.com. That's 20th centurygeek.com. Come on there and contact us, or leave a comment under the podcast, and leave all the reviews as well. And also, finally, check out our Patreon, because there's loads more of Julian and I talking. There's a link down below for that. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I appreciate your time, and we'll talk again soon.